Affairs reveals new details about the deadly Jeju air crash. The crash occurred in December 2024 after a bird strike forced the pilots to make an emergency landing, resulting in a fatal fireball after the plane overshot the runway. Despite the bird strike, the Boeing 737-800's right engine was still functioning when the plane belly landed at Muan Airport. Investigators confirmed that the engine was generating enough power for flight, even though it emitted flames and black smoke. The left engine was shut down 19 seconds after the strike. The plane overshot the runway, crashed into an embankment and erupted in flames, killing 179 of the 181 people on board. The investigation is still ongoing, and experts warn against drawing conclusions too early. Now we're joined by Vandana Singh. She's an aviation expert. Thank you very much, Vandana, for joining us today. Good to see you. Now, the plane barely landed, leading to a fatal fireball. So what are the key challenges in preventing fires after an emergency landing? And could the design of this Boeing, particularly 737-800, have anything to do with the severity of the post-crash fire?
Firstly, thank you for having me on your show. It's an honor. And as you also mentioned, and as everybody at the news is mentioning, this is still the investigation that's going on. This is not the final report. The final report is expected somewhere in 2026, which is next year. Therefore, first of all, coming to conclusions as to why this happened, I think this needs to be left to the investigating authorities. But like you rightfully said, a lot of questions need to be answered. First and foremost, that this was a wildlife habitat area. Was something being done for wildlife placement, for habitat placement? Was there some perimeter fencing? That the migratory birds, the bicotyls, they were coming across, flying. This warning came just 2 minutes before the aircraft was, landing. So what was the role of the air control tower, ATC control? What would they do? So just 2 minutes before, they are warned that there's a flock of birds coming, and it gets engulfed in both the engines. Just imagine, it causes the engine failure. Of course, the preliminary report is saying that one engine was partially working, one was not working. But the fact is, it led to a hydraulic failure. It is clear the landing gears could not come down. Aircraft made a belly landing. When belly landing happened, you had a concrete structure at the end of the runway, the localizer or the antenna that we call it. Why was it concrete? Usually this is tangible, collapsible, frangible, whatever we call it. And it is as per the International Civil Aviation Organization guidelines. Why was it not followed? So there are lots of questions here which need to be answered, including the fuel dumping mechanism of the Boeing 737 and its capabilities of fuel dumping. But did the pilots have enough time? I don't think so. Did they do their best? I do believe they did their best. They made a belly landing. The landing gear never opened. They did their best. But then what was that concrete structure doing there? The localizer, the antenna. And this is what brings to my mind that is the major cause that impact happened. Because of that impact, 179 lives perished, and only 2 crew sitting right at the rear, at the back, survived. But if that was collapsible, this kind of accident would have been avoided by those pilots. Over to you, ma'am.
And Vandana, now, despite the right engine's functionality, the left engine was shut down 19 seconds after the bird strike. So could you explain the standard protocols for engine shutdowns after a bird strike?
Absolutely. It is first the pilot and the co-pilot who take a call. They check, they get the warnings. and then they decide what has to be shut, what has to be kept open. But looking at the situation, it seems that the birds were totally engulfed in both the engines. Now, which one was severely damaged, which one was less damaged, what the pilots did, I think the pilots did something very, very brave by attempting the belly landing in the first place. Otherwise, it would not have been possible. But the structure, the localizer, the antenna is what that caused the maximum damage. And when there is something like this, a proper SOP is followed, and the captain takes a call as to what has to be done. Let's not forget there wasn't much time. Now you're looking at a warning which is just 2 minutes before, which is 120 seconds before the strike. The flock of birds entered, the migratory birds entered the engine of they were engulfed. So how much time did they really have to follow the rule book A, B, C, D? They did the best that they could at that time also.
Thank you.
And they braved it up.
Right. Thank you very much, Vandana Singh, for always joining us and sharing your expertise as an aviation expert.